We're live. Welcome to Talkin VAWLS, episode number 85, our weekly basket balls edition. We're brought to you by the Outright Geekery podcast network at outrightgeekery.com as my phone just went off. We are currently live on YouTube courtesy of the S&B network. If you haven't already done so, please smash that like button and share out the link. It doesn't look like we got anybody in here right now, Dobber. But my name's Vols JP.
And I'm Dobber. What's happening, JP?
How about them balls? How about them basketballs? I have to admit, Saturday I was at my nephew's basketball tournament all day Saturday watching basketball, and kept up with the game on my phone. Tried to get the feed in the gym, but could not get a good connection to get a video in there. But was keeping up with it on my phone. What were we up by 6? I think against Mississippi State.
Yeah, we were up
I think it was 34-28, I think,
at the half. Yeah, and
at
then
the half.
have a
And
horrible second
yeah,
half.
and so I kind of shut my phone down, sitting there watching some third grade basketball. And the next thing I know, I check my phone, and it's probably like 16 or 17 minutes in the second half, and like Mississippi State's on this huge run, and they're already up by like 5 points, and I'm like, what in the world? And I kept refreshing my phone, and the score just kept going the opposite direction. So I have to admit, I did not come back home and watch any of that basketball game because I saw where Mississippi State, what they score, like 52 points, I think, in one half. We didn't have any answer for their inside guy, from my understanding. And obviously the defensive effort was not there.
Yeah, it really just came down to we just got dominated in the second half. They were more physical than we were. They just completely dominated in the paint and on the glass. Couldn't get a rebound. There was a bit of a change up there, I guess, pre-game. They were kind of waiting to see if Josiah Jordan James could go, and then they held him out. He's apparently got a groin injury, which also kept him out of the Alabama game last night. So that's one of those type of deals that you can't really rush back from because you'll just injure it worse or keep re-aggravating it. So Barnes actually was saying that he's been hampered by this all season, actually even preseason. So
yeah, I heard that last night on the broadcast of watching the Bama game.
that,
I heard that. So that's
potentially could be some reason why he's not had the output that we had kind of hoped.
I mean, it certainly could be.
I mean, it's one of those things. He has been kind of slow and not as explosive as you would expect a kid with that type of accolades and his rating coming in.
Yeah.
But yeah, the one thing. Sorry.
Nah, I was just lamenting that he's certainly not probably lived up, and I'm not going to sit here and say that he's not a 5-star talent, because I've said it on here before that there's a good possibility that James will take off next year and be a superstar by the time his career is over. But certainly, if he's been having a nagging groin injury, they could certainly hamper for sure.
Well, I mean, you look at Lamonte Turner, and you're talking a guy that can shoot the lights out of a gym, and he was to the point where he struggled shooting free throws because of his injury with his shoulder. So these kids grind through and play through some injuries, but there's some stuff that you just can't do, and even if you try it, it does take your level of play down. So we can hope he rests up, gets healthy, and comes out, and we make a little run. the one thing I was happy to see against Mississippi State, with James out, they sort of had to go with almost an entirely different rotation,
Mm-hmm.
and you saw some guys getting more minutes than they normally would. Saw Plavsic get in and play some good minutes, and I
He
think
had 16 against State, didn't he?
16 points. So maybe he's starting to get off, get his legs under him and get going a little bit.
He threw up a couple of rough shots last night, though. I was
You,
like, my goodness. I mean, he wasn't even hitting the rim on some of those.
I know.
Woo!
There was one. His bottom half was moving, and his top, and he just slung it up there, and I was like,
Yeah,
man.
yeah, it was kind of ugly, wasn't it?
Then he what was it last night that he got the technical, or was that the Mississippi State game?
No, it was last night when he got
Okay.
technical when the guy fouled him and then he elbowed him.
Yeah, showing a little bit of fire there.
Hey, I like that. That's what this team needs.
Yeah.
They need somebody like that. That was
But,
a Schofield move there.
yeah,
That's something that the Admiral would have done. So, who we got in the chat tonight? We got B Adams. What's up, B Adams? B Adams says, "Hey guys." UT Tanner, he's gloating about the Vols beating the Crimson Tide, which we'll get into a little bit later. And we got Hillbilly Sportsman. He's always here. He's saying basketball is painful to watch sometimes. It is. I mean, this whole season, and we talk about it every single week, it's just up and down. I mean, it's just up and down. I mean, I gave Tennessee zero chance of winning that game last night. And, 16 minutes into that basketball game, they probably only had like a 2% chance of winning when you're down 15 points. But, if we want to jump into that game, obviously the Vols pulled that out. What did we win?
69-68.
69-68. I couldn't remember the exact score. I knew it was one point, but I sat there watching that game, and I watched every bit of that game and got down there, the last 3 or 4 minutes in the first half, and Tennessee made that run, which obviously Bama helped it with the number of turnovers that they had. I mean, if it hadn't been for the turnovers, Tennessee doesn't win that game last night. But obviously, that's some defensive effort causing some of those turnovers. So you can't just discount that completely. But that was absolutely huge that Tennessee cut that lead down to eight points.
Mm-hmm.
I mean, it was absolutely huge that they got that down. Just a really good effort there the last 3 or 4 minutes to get that game back to where at halftime that they gave them a shot. The first 5 or 6 minutes, it was back and forth. I think Bama got the lead up to 10 again there, I think, after Tennessee had cut it down to 6 maybe. But then after that, the last, 12 or 13 minutes of that basketball game, I really felt like that Tennessee controlled that game. They had that game in control. They just kept whittling away. And they ultimately, they made it happen. Still felt like that there was too many. I mean, we're up 4 points there with a minute and a half to go.
All the turnovers.
And we have 2 consecutive possessions that end in turnovers. I mean, all we have to do is go to the foul line and sink 2 of those, and chances are that game is over then.
Well,
and just continue to turn the ball over in situations when they can't do it. And free throw shooting percentage. This team is going to have to get better at sinking some of these free throws. I mean, it was very encouraging last night that
they shot 72% last night. Yeah. So that's decent.
Yeah, but there was a time there that Fulkerson missed both of them. You know, and I think Vescovi missed some, Pons missed some. I mean, all of them was part of it. But this basketball team, there's no room for error, so they need to take advantage of all of the freebies that they get. But wasn't it great to see Alabama and their fans and their players crying over referees? I mean, it was glorious. I mean, it was just absolutely glorious.
Oh yeah. One thing I wanted to hit on, both of those games. You look at Bowden. Let's see. I think he had 12 against Mississippi State, all in the second half. And then he had 20 against Bama last night, 16 in the second half.
Mm-hmm.
What I think, especially this stretch we've got coming up, he's going to have to get going before the second half of these games. Starting next week when the Wildcats roll into the Tommy Bowl.
Saturday. Yeah.
So I mean, he's got to be one of the guys that's scoring and dropping points. And for him to be held scoreless or 4 points in the first half, so something's not right there.
Yeah. Yeah, I don't know what his deal is. I mean, it's been like that all year long, and I mean, I think it's safe to say that he's better suited as a role player when the pressure is all on him, and he's the one that this basketball team looks to carry. He's just not able to do it. I mean, they were shot. I mean, last night, even I think he went 1 for 7 from 3-point range last night, and there was several of those that were off. But now there was also a couple of 3-pointers last night that literally went in and popped right back out for Tennessee. So
there were back-to-back possessions. I think he had one and Vescovi had one.
Mm-hmm.
That they were all but in and through the net and back out.
Yeah. But what about Tim Bradley? I put him up there on the chat. Air ponds. I mean, wow. I mean, just amazing. I saw a picture this morning on Twitter of ponds, and when he was jumping up, and literally his head, the top of his head is even with the rim. I mean, it's just unbelievable.
He's got springs in his feet, man. He can jump out the gym. And really hadn't played a whole lot of organized basketball up until, wasn't it late in high school?
Yeah.
I mean, he's still a raw talent.
He is.
I think you can see that in that his progression he made from last year to this year. And, man, if he continues, gosh.
He's going to be a stud next year.
Yeah.
I mean, he gets another year under his belt, and he works it this summer on his shot, and he gets it more consistent and stuff like that. I mean, he's going to be a stud. He is. Think that he is definitely the most improved player on this basketball team. Him and Fulkerson. Obviously.
Yeah, well, and that's exactly where I was going. You had Fulke dropping 22 last night. Man, he plays all out all the time. If he's on the court, you're getting 100% effort from him, and I like to watch him play. Sometimes I'm like, no, but man, he is all hustle all the time. If we had some other guys with motors like that, man, it'd be awesome to watch. Imagine a team with 5 that hustle like him. You talk about moving it up and down the court.
Mm-hmm.
Golly.
Yeah, this team certainly, like we've said, this team certainly has weaknesses that is not going to be fixed this year. Overall, we're not a good shooting team. We really struggled last night defending the guard play. We really didn't have anybody that could really stop Alabama when they wanted to drive.
Yeah. Well, I mean, that's the same thing. Mississippi State game. That Perry kid and Stewart. I think they both went for over 20 points. And I mean, I think what did Bama in last night was the fact that it's kind of one of those you live by the 3, you die by the 3, and they shot really, really well in the first half, and couldn't really get it going in the second half enough to maintain their lead and kind of we, like you said, we just kept chipping away at it, and they always say you want to cut it to single digits at the half, and that's exactly what we did. And then we were able to come in and sustain some runs, and I think there were 5 or 6 lead changes in the second half, but we were right there the whole time, and that's what you want to do in a game like that. You can go on big runs, but you've got to get some stops and scores, and then that's exactly what they did last night, and it's pretty cool seeing. We've talked about it before. This team doesn't really do one thing great. They do several things pretty efficiently. If you could say one thing that they are decent at, is defensive wise. They've I think they're up to 7 or 8, maybe 10 times this year that they've held opponents 5 minutes scoreless. So defensive wise, that they can put stops together, which helps if you're down. Last night they held Alabama, the SEC's highest scoring offense, to under 70 for only the second time in conference play. So that's that's a hallmark of Barnes's teams is defensive play, which that there are certain guys on the team that haven't seen the floor as much because they don't show the awareness on the defensive side of the ball, and that's one thing that I saw Barnes had talked about. Plavsic is getting more minutes because Olivier Combois is sort of lacking, and
he's struggling.
It's almost like he's lost on the defensive end of the court, and you can only do that so many times before Barnes is just going to sit you. You look at what is it? I guess Jalen Johnson last year. He played early a little bit, and then wasn't cutting it on the defensive side, and man, down the end of the season, he hardly played at all.
Yeah,
but he's coming out this year and making the most of the minutes he's getting. He's had a couple good games. Let's see, he actually went for 13 against Mississippi State.
Yeah. One of the players that really hasn't exerted any kind of scoring threat yet, but I think really gives us a boost on the defensive end is Gaines. I felt like last night that he played a big part in Tennessee getting that rally started there.
Yeah, he was playing good defense right at before the half.
Yeah, he certainly was, and like you said, if you're going to play basketball for Barnes, then you better play on the defensive side. It doesn't matter if you can shoot it out of the gym. If you can't play defense, you're going to struggle to get minutes with him. And I think that's obviously why Gaines is playing some, and certainly he provided a spark for the Vols last night for sure with that. But looking at the schedule, I mean, I know we've talked about it on here. We've been back and forth. Can this team make the tournament? Blah, blah, blah. I still think that that's going to be a long shot for this basketball team to do. We're sitting at 13-9. I believe we got 9 games left, if I'm not mistaken, right now. But looking at the upcoming schedule, the next 4 games, you got Kentucky Saturday, you got Arkansas at home. Then you go next the following Saturday at South Carolina, and then you come back home against Vanderbilt. In my opinion, this basketball team, to have any kind of shot at the NCAA tournament, is going to have to win 3 out of those 4 games. And they've got 3 of those 4 at home. Tennessee needs to find a way to protect the home court and try to beat Kentucky Saturday. I think that's going to be a very, very tough challenge for this basketball team. But can Tennessee find a way to win 3 out of those 4 games? Because that would put you at 16-10. It would put you at 16-10, and I think that would leave you with 5 regular season games left. So, can they find a way to win 3 out of the next 4?
going to be tough sledding, but
Yeah.
man, yeah.
Especially playing South Carolina at South Carolina. I mean they always play tough,
Mhm.
and they're a scrappy bunch. So certainly, even though that their record doesn't indicate it, I think that they're going to be tough, even there.
But just like we talked about last week, though, and I can't remember if it was is maybe Matt Griffith or somebody else brought up that we tend to play to our opponent.
Yeah,
So if Kentucky's rolling well and playing good, then hopefully that means we're playing good and we're at least going bucket for bucket with them and not getting down big like we did and expecting a second half comeback. Troy Lee, the students were giving Fulke the business right there about getting his hair cut, and then he came out after the game in the press conference and was saying, "Did you see this, JP?" He said, "Yeah, so just to let you know, not anything they had to do, but I scheduled an appointment to cut my hair tomorrow last week."
No, I didn't. I didn't
So
see that.
yeah,
He keeps playing the way he does. I don't care if he grows his hair down to his hind end. I guess.
yeah. I mean, it's he has certainly picked up his offensive
Oh
game.
yeah, yeah. He
Um,
definitely has.
So
He
um,
definitely has.
I see we've got a couple guys using Boogie and Matt Griffith using the
Yeah, yeah. We got Matt.
emojis.
But
So
are they working right? Or I
I
saw Biggie say
I
something about they were the
I think they're the comic
comic
cast
cast.
ones. So
He's got the comic cast emojis on there. So, but yeah, you can still do that through YouTube. You can go on there and actually join. And I'm assuming it's still $2.99 a month. I believe is what it is. But you get access to all the different emojis and stuff like that. So certainly, if you're interested in that, you can certainly do that. And the more folks that we get to join, the more emojis that we get to add. So on
yeah.
there with that. So I see a lot of questions in the chat about the football team. Does anybody want to talk about the football team? Does anybody, or do we want to sit here and talk about how Kentucky is going to get drilled Saturday in Thompson Bowling Arena?
Hey, what are we like 4-1 the last 5 against them?
I mean, Barnes has a tremendous record against Calipari.
So I mean it's it's always typically a good game.
Yeah.
So,
Typically is, especially in Knoxville.
yeah.
I mean we've taken our lump sometimes
But
Rupp.
I think we have the winningest record conference wise against them. I think haven't we beat them more than any other SEC team?
Oh yeah, for sure. Over the years, Tennessee's beat them more than any other team has. But I don't expect Tennessee just to lay down Saturday and just get absolutely destroyed. I mean, I fully expect Tennessee to compete. And, honestly, I feel like that if Tennessee can replicate the game that they had against, say, Kansas, I definitely think that Tennessee can win this basketball game. I mean, I think that Kentucky's proven that they're not all world. I mean, they're not some unbeatable team. So it would certainly boost Tennessee's confidence and their potential of making it to the NCAA tournament, though.
Oh yeah, it'd be a good quality win.
Kentucky. Oh yeah, for sure.
And last night was a good win because you're beating another bubble team, so you're getting one up on them. So you just got to continue to win the handful of winnable games and try to take a couple of the ones that are more questionable.
Yeah.
But I mean there's a couple of National Signing Day things we could get into. If we're going to talk some football, I got a couple things that I don't want to just gloss over and not mention. The staff shakeups and moves that we've had. With the promotion of Joe Ossovet to tight ends coach.
That was formally announced, right? Today?
Yes.
Okay.
Came out today. I think it's a good move. He's a pretty well respected. What I can't even remember what division it was. He was in. I guess
he was in the JUCO.
JUCO,
yeah, up in the northeast, like
but won a
New
couple
York or somewhere.
national champions or JUCO championships or whatever. From all intents and purposes, a great offensive mind. This will be his third year on the team. First year, I guess, as a coach and not as a analyst or whatever
analyst. Yeah.
capacity he's been in. So,
Yeah.
but with that,
but you got to think. Go ahead, Dobber.
Oh no, go ahead.
I mean, I was just going to say you've got to think that Pruitt feels comfortable with him.
Yeah.
You know, I don't think there's any doubt that Pruitt signs this guy and promotes him if he doesn't feel like that Ossovet has the work ethic that he demands and has the same desires and you know is a good coach. I think when Tennessee hired him, I think that he had a real good knack for understanding of the RPO.
Yeah.
You know, those type of plays and stuff like that, which we see is really becoming such a huge part of offenses in both college and pros now. So with all that, so definitely feel like that. I'll be interested to see how he is on the recruiting trail.
Yeah.
You know, that would be great. Another plus there that if he ends up being a really good recruiter, which you feel like that Pruitt probably feels like that he has that capability also because he was the one that went on the recruiting trail when David Johnson left.
That's right.
So he went ahead and put him on there. And of course, then you know Jay Graham coming back to Tennessee,
big time right there.
Yeah, you know, wonderful pickup for Tennessee. Yeah, getting him back to Knoxville. You know, I think it's always good if you can have a former player on staff because they can really talk to these recruits and you know tell them you know this is what that you can experience at Tennessee because they've actually played there, they've actually lived through it and stuff like that. So I think having him both and T on staff is really good with that.
So with talking about Graham right there, do you think that opens the door up anymore with the five-star running back Evans? Because Graham was his primary recruiter at Texas A&M.
I mean, I don't think anybody can honestly sit there and say that they got a really good grasp on that kid.
It's some strange stuff that's out there on him.
Here's my take on it. I'm not going to sit around and worry about that 18-year-old kid or however old he is.
Mm-hmm.
You know, that's Pruitt and that coaching staff. You know, if they want to chase this kid and feel like that he's worth it, and by all intents and purposes, his athletic ability on the football field is certainly worth it. But that's their job. I'm not going to sit around and worry about it or whatever because usually, and I say usually, not always, but usually when you got a kid that has that much drama around them, they end up busting out anyway, and they end up never even fulfilling anything remotely of what they are. If he comes to Tennessee, I hope that that's not the case. But with the track record that you've seen over the years with these kids that do this kind of stuff, it really makes you leery. Will he, wherever he ends up, will he ever be the type of a player that his athletic ability would allow him to be? Because there's something going on that he just doesn't. He can't just act normal.
Right. I mean, you know, we're talking about, you know, the stud running back who was sent home from his state championship senior year, the title game.
Yeah.
For not turning his cell phone in or some kind of something like that. Georgia decides to would they nullify his letter of intent.
Yeah, I mean he signed and then he asked out of it and they granted it. So
I mean, it's there's definitely some weird stuff there. The video of the kid, man, his on the field, off the charts. But like you alluded to, does that outweigh the history and the potential for off the field antics? Yeah. Man, I don't know.
Yeah. And again, if he ends up signing with Tennessee, and supposedly the deal is, even if he was to announce, say, tonight, tomorrow, whenever.
Well, it doesn't matter till he's enrolled because he can't sign another LOI.
Exactly. So even if he comes out and says he's going to Ole Miss, even if he comes out and says he's going to Tennessee, until that kid enrolls in school, May or whenever that is, you just never know. I mean, you just never know with somebody like that.
6 or 7 more times.
Yeah. So, I mean, and I'll be honest with you, the last week or so, I've just kind of just stopped even just paying any attention. The last that I heard about Evans, and all this may have changed. If somebody's been paying attention more to him than I have over the last week or so, but from basically what I had heard, that Pruitt is saving still an in-home visit for sometime in March, because he's banking on this kid not even doing anything until at least March or whatever, and he's wanting to use his in-home visit with him then. Now, that all may be old news. It may have changed, because it seems like that his information changes as the wind blows.
I had seen something that they were actually in Texas or something and had a visit scheduled, but decided to push it because they wanted Jay Graham there.
Yeah.
So, it's who knows? And like you said earlier, you're dealing with, 17, 18, 19-year-old kids.
Yeah. So, I mean, you just never know. I mean, obviously Pruitt feels like that he could help his football team. Excuse me. And obviously Pruitt feels like that he's worth taking a risk on, and certainly looking at our running back core, I would say too. Yeah, I mean, Tennessee would be stupid not to.
Could you imagine him and Gray both in the backfield running like a veer or wishbone or something?
Yeah,
man, with that the potential offensive line that we've got.
Yeah.
Holy cow.
Yeah.
But let's move on to some guys that we do actually have on the team.
That's right.
So, before that, another staff shakeup. You got Niedermeyer moving from tight ends to inside linebacker. I think it's a good move. I think it's I don't know if it's. I wouldn't even call it a lateral move. I would almost call it a kind of a promotion for him. I think inside linebacker is more of a important to the defense than a tight end is to the offense, if that makes sense. That kind of, as I'm saying that, I don't know if it makes sense, but that was just my first thoughts. But I definitely think it's a great decision to move him because his recruiting prowess. I mean, you're talking about the what I guess reigning recruiter of the year. I mean, the dude is he's a ball coach, and I think that's why Pruitt brought him along with him. I think he coached with him at Georgia and at Alabama, and it's just he's a good fit. It's the same thing that we talked about with Osavit. Pruitt is comfortable with him. He knows his work ethic, work mentality, and he's another one of those football guys. And I think that's what Pruitt is bringing in and surrounding himself with. And man, it makes me think a lot of some of those staffs from Fulmer's earlier days with surrounding himself with all of these really, really good coaches. And I think that was the height of Fulmer's success wasn't necessarily related to Fulmer, but it was the coaching staff that he assembled.
Yeah.
And I think Pruitt is doing the same thing with these guys he's bringing in.
I certainly agree. I mean, it gets me excited to think about the possibilities. And then I start thinking, gosh, I've been excited too many times over the last 10 plus years.
You get that beat down Tennessee mentality going on.
Yeah. And then I still go back to us losing to Georgia State and all that. But I just need to let that go because, obviously Pruitt proved he turned it around. We got a heck of a recruiting class to be, considering where this football team was setting, the 1st of October to really be 6 months later, to finish the season 8-5. And I think I saw before we signed on, it was up to 8th in recruiting on Rivals. To me, that's phenomenal. To me, that is absolutely phenomenal. If you can get the 8th ranked recruiting class in the nation and you got good coaches who can develop these kids, you can win. You can beat the Alabamas and the Georgias and the Clemsons and whoever it may be. I'm not saying it's going to happen this year, but we do need to beat one of the big four this year and win the rest of our games. I can assure you that, and that's what I'm going to expect by the time that we roll around in August. But getting back to the recruiting, we got D. Beckwith and Malachi Weidman. Weidman was a Florida State commit for a while. And then when they fired Taggart and moved on from him, he opened up his recruitment, and Tennessee jumped right in there. I don't know if there was a backstory with him. Was it Winky, his lead recruiter? I'll be honest with you, I don't know what has got into me, but since National Signing Day moved to December, it's just not the same for me anymore. And I got too many other things going on that I really don't keep up with it like I used to. But I do know that Weidman was a Florida State commit, and Tennessee obviously held off. I think he was interested in Florida State. He was interested in Ole Miss, and wasn't even Oregon in the mix, I believe.
But I think it was a distance thing that kind of ruled them out.
Yeah, with that. So certainly with that, I think that he's a top 100 player on Rivals.
Yeah, but big wide receiver. I think it's a good pickup. Anytime you can flip a 4-star on the day of, it's good. And Beckwith was kind of one that he was a fringe guy. I wasn't really expecting that to happen. I guess Florida, it was between us and Florida, and he is actually Lamonte Turner's cousin. And to bring it back around here to Talkin VAWLS basketball, he does actually hold a offer from Tennessee basketball. So could we see a dual sport football, basketball star in D. Beckwith?
Yeah, I guess that's possible. I guess it's certainly possible. I think that it's harder and harder to do that anymore. Certainly in college with the way that these kids pretty much have to train and practice year round, basically. With all that. So But I'm not sure. I think that he's certainly like a big jumbo athlete. I think what are they saying that tight end is probably going to be what position that they look to for Beckwith to fill, and I mean he could with what we got coming back at tight end. I mean, he's got an opportunity there with Woods Anderson departing that he could certainly, if he's as advertised and athletic as he is, he has an opportunity to jump in and give some quality snaps next year.
Yeah. Well, one thing that I read, they're kind of excited, compared him a little bit to Jawan Jennings, and said he could be used sort of in a role similar to that.
Yeah,
Maybe sort of a slot kind of hybrid guy,
yeah,
and he also played a little quarterback. So maybe running the Wildcat or something like that. But yeah, you look at both of these guys, and they've got some really good highlights put on tape. Two 4-star guys, which you said Rivals bumped us up to 8. I think 247 just it cracked us into the top 10.
yeah,
So
yeah,
it's I mean if you could sit and tell me that after the first 2 football games of the season, we would be sitting here, the first week of February on National Signing Day, talking about having just won 8 games, won our bowl game, and then we're having a top 10 recruiting class. I would have told you no way.
yeah.
To start the season the way we did, no chance.
You know what I was telling you after the
I know. But man,
after the Florida game, I was completely out. I mean, there wasn't any hope. I was completely out and was already firing up the hot board for a new football coach. So I admit it. I'm wrong. I admit it.
The way this team finished the year and the way they're trending, and the way they've continued to trend through the offseason and through the early signing period and National Signing Day today, man, it just makes you wish for
August
to get here, and
yeah. This will be the most excited I am about Tennessee football since the beginning of the 2016 season, because that was the season that in Butch's tenure that I kept saying that if Tennessee was going to make hay, that was going to be the year that they done it.
Right.
And obviously started out 5-0, and then the wheels fell off, and Butch gets exposed for what he was. But
they've announced the orange and white game. Do you think we set an attendance record at it?
I mean, it's possible, I guess. I think a lot of that depends on weather too, and all that. But I don't know. I don't know if we'll ever see a attendance record on that stuff again, because most of that stuff now is televised by SEC Network and all that. So, and I'll be honest, when I go, I've been to some orange and white games, and I would, if I had my choice, I'd probably sit at the house and watch it, but that's a good experience for kids.
I love to take kids.
Stuff like that. Yeah.
Yeah.
But
at least we're not doing the junk that, we did with Butch when you score points for a tackle, and, it was 170 to 136. You couldn't even keep track of that. And it was just a circus. Pruett's not about any of that. It's we're going to line up and we're going to play some football.
Yeah.
And
Troy Lee told us. He said, go all the way back. I told y'all we got the right guy for the job. Go read all through the comment sections on all my posts, even after those bad losses. Troy Lee, I don't doubt you, brother. And I commend you for keeping the faith with Jeremy Pruitt. I have a tendency to overreact. I admit, I overreact.
Really?
Just a tad. Just a tad.
That
It's
that
just it's
that
just passionate.
that's why you got a bag on your head on the cartoons.
Well, last week on the BasketVAWLS, after those two losses, I was the artist formerly known as Vols JP. I had dropped the Vols from my name, but
I know I caught that.
no, I mean I'm like I said, to me, by the time August rolls around, I'm going to be very, very excited. I know what's going to happen probably on the quarterback. We're going to hear about how Garantano's taking the next step and all that. It's still going to be have to one of those things that I'm going to have to see that before I believe that. So
Oh, we'll probably
we'll see.
see there in Norman.
Yeah, yeah. We probably will, but I don't know, but I'm definitely going to be pumped up to see what happens in spring. I can't wait to, glad that that Bailey is a early enrollee, so
Mm-hmm.
he'll get to go through spring. We'll get to see him at spring games, see what kind of skills and attributes that he could potentially bring, and then just continue on through the summer there and get into August and go to fall camp and bless you and see what happens. See what happens there. Cody Branch thinks that we got a shot against the Oklahoma Sooners. I tend to agree with you, Cody. I've said it on here. I said it on the podcast several weeks ago. I felt like that the Vols could go out to Norman and surprise some folks next year. And you're right, Norman or Oklahoma is going to be breaking in a new quarterback, so we got an opportunity there to really get this season off on a great start.
And the potential for the big daddies on the offensive line, man.
Mm-hmm.
You have an offensive line like that. I don't care who you're playing. You protect the quarterback, give him time to throw, and you open up lanes for you know. I'm not even going to talk about Evans because he's not on the team right now. But Gray and the way he ended last year, the Vandy game and then the bowl game. Man, I'm excited for the future with him at running back. And then you still got Chandler. Um, it, we lost a little bit, especially on the edge, and guys that could get vertical, and guys like Jennings who could just will things to happen. But we've still got a lot coming back. Like you said, it's exciting. Ready for August to roll around. So.
Oh yeah, yeah. I definitely am. I definitely am. So looks like we got Wayne. He's confused. Are we talking about football or b-ball? Wayne, we're talking about football now, buddy. We've been on football for about 10 or 15 minutes, I guess now. So with that, but anything else, Dobber, you want to add tonight? We need to probably get this wrapped up.
Nah, I mean that's pretty well. Got
We are going to try to come out with some videos leading up to spring ball. We're going to try to do some breakdowns of each position group. Talk about who's coming back, who we're going to have to replace, who the newcomers are that could potentially step in. So we're going to do some a breakdown on those and everything. And Bobby Taco, he says that they're winning 10 next year. You heard it right there.
Bringing the thunder right there.
I'm screenshotting that Bobby Taco right now,
10
buddy.
games. That's going out there. I'd love it. Hey, I called 9 last year, and we were 1 off of it.
Yeah, I know we were. And I was laughing in September when you said 9.
I know.
Oh, goodness gracious. But
you just get me excited.
I know it.
I'm there with you, Bobby. Let's go. 10 wins. Let's do it.
I'm all for it. 10. Why not 12? Hey,
let's go. Let's go.
Why not? Let's just get on up to 15-0. I mean, I'm all there. I'm all there.
Hey, we will know how far this team comes week 2
against Oklahoma.
Yeah, I think
so.
that's going to be a really good litmus test to evaluate the growth we've had off season and kind of where our head at is in the new season.
Matt, I believe that you are the first subscriber, other than Boogie Bentley. Well, I'm sure these other people. I don't have all the analytics on that. Boogie's the one that controls all that, but I think that you are the only one that usually comes on Talkin VAWLS with the emojis. So you are the first, Matt. Congratulations, and we appreciate that. We certainly do. So with that, and Wayne's saying that he can't wait for the first game party. That's right. We plan on having that meet and greet. I know that Dobber and Boogie done it for the bowl game, but certainly we plan on having that again next year for the Charlotte game, first game of the season down there at the Model City Tap House. With that, so well, I think that's going to wrap it up for tonight. Dobber, you got anything you want to say?
I'm good. Let's beat the Cats on Saturday.
Yeah, let's beat the Cats on Saturday. Dobber and Falls JP will be back here next Wednesday night. I guess it will be. We'll be back next Wednesday night for another episode of the BasketVAWLS edition, and I'm sure we'll throw in some football with it. So appreciate everybody being in the live chat tonight. Listening to us, commenting with us, interacting with us. We certainly appreciate it. And let's go beat those Cats. Go Vols. We'll see y'all next week. Goodbye.